Hello everyone, welcome back. In the previous video, we had completed the UI for our recent conversation page. In this video, we are actually going to pull the data from Firebase and then actually populate our list view with the actual conversations that the user was having. So without anything further to do, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to link up our actual recent conversation page to our auth provider. So I'm going to import the provider package first. And once we have access to our provider package, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to import our auth provider. So // and then providers auth provider. Once we have these two imported, the next thing I'm going to do is that I am going to go to our widgets build method. I'm going to then wrap our actual conversations list view widget in a new widget. And if you have been following along with me in these tutorials, another way of wrapping your widgets is by doing command and then the period or command dot or control dot in Windows, and this opens up a menu from where we can actually perform actions on this widget. So I'm going to wrap with widget, and now the widget that I'm going to wrap this with is going to be our actual change notifier provider widget. And then after this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define the type of our change notifier. So it's going to be auth provider. And then finally, what we're going to do is that we're going to use the .value constructor. Once we have this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a comma. I'm going to do Alt-Shift-F. And then for our actual change notifier's value, I'll give it the value of our auth provider.instance. Once we have this, I'm going to do Alt-Shift-F Command Shift just to make sure we don't get any errors. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to our actual function that generates all of our UI. I'm going to go to the actual main container, and I'm going to then actually wrap this main container in a builder function. So I'm going to copy all of this container code. Then I'm going to remove it. I'm going to add a builder widget. I'll define the builder for it, and the builder gives us a build context. So I'm just going to define build context and then say underscore context. And then we're going to define the actual return for our builder function. Once we have this, I'm going to add the corresponding semicolon, do Alt-Shift-F and do command save. The next thing we're going to do is that we are going to now create actual variable that is going to store our auth variable. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to do provider, and then after provider we're going to do .auth and then the type of our provider, so it's going to be auth provider. And finally we'll do from the context, so underscore context. With this we can do Alt-Shift-F command save, and hopefully we should have access to our auth provider. Next thing we're going to do is that we're going to actually define the database function inside of our database service that is going to actually pull the actual conversations from the database. So without anything further to do, let's get into it. So the way we're going to do this is that we're going to create a new function, and this function is going to return a stream for now, and then we'll define the type of the stream later. And we'll call this get user conversations. Similar to our get user data, we'll get the user's UID as an input. And then using this, we'll actually get the data. We'll define our database reference as to the document that we are actually referring to. And then we'll do db.collection. And then the collection is going to be our underscore user collection. After that, what we'll do is that we'll go to the corresponding user document. So the document is going to be in the user ID. From there, we'll go to his conversations collection. So I'm going to go to the top. After our user collection, I'm going to define a new string, and I'll call this conversations collection. And then I'll set this equal to conversations. With that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the semicolon. I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to add the conversations collection. Okay, so now with this, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a semicolon. So we have a reference to our data now. The next thing I'm going to do is that I am going to now actually return the data. So I'm going to do return, and then we're going to take our reference.snapshots, and then that's pretty much it. But this snapshot is going to return us a snapshot, which is going to be a query snapshot, and it's going to give us a list of documents, and each document is then going to have a data attribute in it. But I do not want that. I want our data to have some structure. So what I'm going to do is that similar to our get user data, I'm going to transform the stream that we get from a stream of curious deep shop to a stream of actually conversations, and to be precise, conversation snippets, because this is a small chunk of a conversation. This is not the complete conversation. So to do that, what I'm going to do is that inside of our models, I'm going to create a new file, and I'll call this conversation.dart. Now what I'm going to do is that I am going to go to this file, and then inside of here, I'm going to define our actual conversation snippet. So firstly, I'm going to import, and I'm going to import our Cloud Firestore package. Once we have the Cloud Firestore package imported, I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to call this conversation snippet. So this is not the actual model that holds our conversation. This is just the model that holds the conversation documents that are inside of the conversations collection of a user. So if I open up Firebase and I go to our project and I bring it over, and then we go to our project and then to our database, the conversation snippets refer to the actual documents inside of every user's conversation collection. So these are the conversation snippets. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is that we are going to define the actual attributes for our conversation snippet. So we'll have a final string, and we'll have the ID for our conversation snippet. Then we'll have the actual conversation ID for our conversation snippet. Then we'll have the actual last message. So this model is going to model the data that's saved in Firebase. Then we'll have the name of the person we were talking to. Then we'll have the actual image of the person we were talking to. Then we'll have the actual int, which is our final int, and then our unseen count. And then finally, we'll have a final timestamp, and this will be our timestamp. So once we have this, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the constructor for our actual conversation snippet, and I'll just copy this constructor in because it's really simple. All it is this, and then this is not chat ID, this is actually conversation ID, and I'm going to do Alt-Shift-F command save. Similar to how we did for our actual contact model, we're going to create a new factory method for our conversation snippet, and we'll call this factory method factory, and then we'll call this conversation snippet, and then we'll have dot, and then from Firestore. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define this as a document snapshot, and then we'll set this as a snapshot. And then with that, we are ready to define how we're going to create that. So we'll get the data for our snapshot first. So we'll call it data equals to our snapshot.data, or not snapshot.data. Once we have this, we are going to return our actual conversation snippet instance. And then here we're going to define the ID. The ID will be our snapshot.document ID. This is the ID of the document. Then we'll have our conversation ID, which will be our data dot, and then we are going to access the key, which is conversation and then ID. I'm going to add a comma here and a semicolon, Alt-Shift-F, just to reformat the code. Then we'll have our last message. So the last message is going to be underscore data, and then we'll have last message, and then there may or may not be a last message, so we're going to check that the last message is not equal to null. If it is not equal to null, then we'll set it as data and then last message. Else we'll just set that as an empty string. Once we have that, the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to set the unseen count, and that's going to be data and then unseen count. Once we have that, what we're going to do is that we're going to define our actual timestamp. So timestamp is going to be underscore data and then timestamp. Then we'll define our actual name. So that's going to be data dot and data name. And then finally we'll have the image, which will be underscore data and then image, and then do Alt-Shift-F command save. So with that, I think we have all of the properties defined. So with the conversation model now defined, or the conversation snippet model now defined, we'll go back to our database service, And then what we're going to do is that we are going to take our snapshots and then we're going to map them. And we are going to map them to a new stream of conversation snippets. And this is actually going to be a list of conversation snippets, to be precise, because we're going to get a list of documents, or a list of our query snapshot is then going to have a list of document snapshots inside of it. So how we're going to do this is that we are going to then map the snapshot, and inside of here we'll get the snapshot. And then what we're going to do is that we are going to map our actual snapshot. Okay, so now we're going to add the corresponding commas here, do this and remove these curly braces, and then add the corresponding semicolon. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to take the snapshot and we're going to access the document in our snapshots. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to then map our document into a new conversation snippet. So then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to return a conversation snippet and then dot from Firestore, and then we'll do doc. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to then, for this actual map where we map each document to a conversation snippet, we're going to make this a list. And after that, for our stream, we'll define the type. So it's going to be a list of conversation snippets. And once we have this, I'm going to do Alt-Shift-F, Command Save. We're going to go to the top and I'm going to remove the auto edit import statement, and I'm going to import the actual model. So I'm going to import // and then we'll have models and then conversation, and then Alt-Shift-F, Command Save. So with this, the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to go back to our recent conversation page. And now we are going to wrap our list view builder inside of a stream builder. So what we're going to do is that we are going to copy our list view builder, and we're going to go to where our list view builder ends. So it is this place, and we'll create a stream builder. We'll define the builder function for our stream builder, and the builder function takes in a context and a snapshot. So snapshot refers to the data from our stream, and the context refers to the build context. And then we're going to, for now, just return our list view.builder and add the corresponding semicolon, do Alt-Shift-F and do Command Save. Once we have this, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the stream for a stream builder, and the stream for a stream builder is going to be our database service, but we have to import it. So I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to import // and then services and then database service, and do Alt-Shift-F, Command Save. I'm going to come down and then I'm going to do database service .instance and then go get, and then .get user conversation, and we have to rename our method to get user conversations, and then go back and set this to get user conversations. And for the user ID, all we'll do is we'll access our auth, then the user, and then the UID. Once we have this, we can do Alt-Shift-F, Command Save, and reload our application. Okay, so with that, we should have access to our data from our stream. So now what we can do is that firstly, we can check that we do get some data. And then if we do, we can show our list view builder. And if we don't, then we can show a loading indicator. And this way we can prevent our actual app from showing any errors. So let's get into it. So now what we're going to do is that inside of our builder function, we'll define a new variable, which we'll call data. And we'll get the snapshot.data. And I'll also define the type of our stream builder. So this is going to be conversation snippet, and actually a list of conversation snippets to be precise. And then do Alt-Shift-F, Command Save. So now that we get the data, the next thing I'm going to do is that I am going to return, and then I'm going to check if the snapshot.has data. If it does, then we're going to return our actual list view.builder. So if our snapshot.has data, then we're going to return our list view.builder. And if it doesn't have data, then what we're going to do is that we're going to return a loading indicator. And the loading indicator that we're going to return, I'm just going to copy it in because it's really simple. All it is a spin kid wandering cubes, the same loading indicator we had for our profile page. I'm going to do Alt-Shift-F And then I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to actually import our actual loading indicator. So I'm going to import, and then I'm going to do flutter spin kit. And then I'm also going to remove this auto edit import statement for our conversation model, and I'm going to import the model ourselves. So I'm going to do // and then models conversation, and I'll Shift F command save. So with that, what I'm going to do is that, just as a good measure, I'm going to reload our application, and hopefully we shouldn't get any errors. Okay, so now that we have this, the next thing we're going to do is that inside of our list view.builder, we are going to set the count of our list view.builder to our data dot, and then it's going to be the length of our data, and command save. And this should already change our list view to show 2 elements, because if we go to our user, and our user Hussein has 2 conversations in Firebase, that's where we're showing 2 tiles. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to change the title. So now the title is going to be actually our data, and then the index that we get passed in by the actual item builder, and then .name. And then we'll copy this line and we'll paste it here. And now we'll set this as our last message. Then for our network image, we'll again paste this here, but we'll set this as our image, and we'll do Alt Shift F command save. And you're going to see the data gets updated. Oh, one thing we forgot to do was define the fit for our image. So we'll do fit, and then we'll do box fit, and then .cover. Alt Shift F command save. Hopefully the images now should fill up. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to go to our list trailing widgets, and then we're going to define the other 2 data properties here. So one of the text that we need is going to be the actual last seen text. So the way we're going to do this is that we're going to import a module, which is our time ago module, which we added as a dependency inside of our pubspec.yaml file, which is here. So I'll firstly import that. So I'm going to import, after here, I'm going to import our time ago package. So time ago. Once we have this, I'm going to do Alt Shift F command save. I'm going to go down, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take our text, and instead of here, I'm going to do time ago. Oh yes, and I forgot to actually import it as time ago. Once we have this, we will then do command save. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to do time ago, and then dot, and then what we'll do is that we'll use a handy dandy helper function, which is .format. And this format function takes in, as you saw, a date time date. So what now I'm going to do is that I am going to I'm going to define the date time. I'm going to define the timestamp that we gets passed in, timestamp that last message, timestamp. And then I'm going to do Alt Shift F command save. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to set this as our last message timestamp, and then we're going to convert that to a date, and then I'm going to do Alt Shift F command save. But then what we have to do now is that we have to go back to our actually list tile trailing widgets function, and we have to send in the actual timestamp. So I'll do timestamp. With that, we can do Alt Shift F command save. And as you can see, it updates our timestamps to show the relevant text as to this message was 18 hours ago and 17 hours ago. Okay, so with that, we have completed our recent conversation page, and now we can actually see the conversations that a user was having with other users inside of our chat application. So with that, I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.